In this video, I challenge the conventional wisdom that opposites merely attract. I posit that in the case of Life Path 8 and Life Path 3, opposites collide with the force of a collapsing star. The goal of this analysis is to prove that this pairing, often cited as one of the most difficult in numerology, actually holds the blueprint for the ultimate power couple. But the difficulty is immense. We are trying to reconcile the immovable object with the unstoppable force. The 8 is the archetype of authority, structure, and material mastery. The 3 is the archetype of expression, joy, and chaotic creativity. If I fail to show you the hidden bridge between these two souls, you may mistake necessary friction for incompatibility and walk away from a connection that was designed to make you an emperor of your own reality. Imagine a grand, silent boardroom where decisions of gravity are made. That is the soul of the 8. Now, throw open the doors and imagine a carnival parade bursting in, tossing confetti on the spreadsheets. That is the soul of the 3. The initial reaction is shock. The 8 looks at the 3 and sees a liability, someone who is scattered, unserious, and financially risky. The 3 looks at the 8 and sees a prison warden, someone cold, calculating, and joyless. Because of this surface friction, many of these relationships end in the dating phase. But deeper down, there is a magnetic pull that defies logic. The 8 secretly craves the lightness they deny themselves. The 3 secretly craves the stability they cannot create. Therefore, the relationship begins not with ease, but with a fascinating, dangerous tension. It is the story of the king who forgot how to laugh, meeting the jester who forgot how to rule. This isn't just a romance, it is a spiritual intervention for both parties. But before we can heal it, we must understand the depth of the wound. To understand why the 8 clashes with the 3, we must first step into the heavy armor of the Life Path 8. The 8 is ruled by the energy of Saturn, the planet of restriction, karma, and hard lessons. From a young age, the 8 feels a crushing sense of responsibility. They are the providers, the protectors, the ones who make sure the lights stay on. They do not work for fun. They work to survive and to conquer. Their greatest fear is not lack of love, it is lack of control and financial ruin. Because they carry this psychological weight, they view the world through a lens of risk assessment. When an 8 walks into a room, they are scanning for structural weaknesses. They value efficiency, pedigree, and tangible results. They are building a legacy, stone by heavy stone. But this ambition comes at a terrible cost. The 8 often suppresses their inner child. They view emotions as inefficiencies. They view spontaneity as a threat to the plan. Therefore, when they encounter the 3, their defense mechanisms flare up. They see the 3's carefree attitude not as a gift, but as a danger. How can you laugh when the mortgage is due? The 8 thinks. How can you paint when the roof is leaking? The 8 believes they are the only adult in the room, holding up the sky like Atlas. This resentment festers. They don't hate the 3. They envy the 3. They envy the ability to let go, which is exactly why they try to control the 3. They try to put the 3 in a box, not to stifle them, but to keep them safe from the harsh winter that the 8 is always preparing for.
Now let us turn the lens to the Life Path 3. If the 8 is the mountain, the 3 is the wind that dances around it. Ruled by Jupiter, the 3 is the archetype of the eternal child, the artist, and the communicator. Their currency is not money. It is attention, expression, and joy. The 3 is terrified of boredom and emotional suffocation. They need to sparkle, to speak, to be seen. To a 3, life is a performance art piece, and they are the star. Because the 3 lives in the moment, they often struggle with the mundane mechanics of existence, paying bills on time, sticking to a schedule, or thinking 5 years ahead. They rely on their charm and luck, which, to their credit, often works. But when they meet the 8, the 3 feels a sudden chill. The 8's questions feel like an interrogation. Where is this going? What is the ROI of your hobby? The 3 feels their spirit shrinking under this scrutiny. They interpret the 8's guidance as criticism. The 3 starts to feel like a bird in a golden cage. They love the security the 8 provides, the nice house, the dinners, the safety, but they hate the price of admission, which is conformity. Therefore, the 3 begins to rebel, not with anger, but with chaos. They become flaky. They spend money they don't have just to feel a rush of freedom. They use their words, their superpower, to sting the 8, calling them boring, soulless, or tyrannical. The 3 is screaming for connection, but the 8 only hears noise.
The honeymoon phase for an 8 and a 3 is often spectacular. The 8 wines and dines the 3, showcasing their power and status. The 3 entertains and adores the 8, making the 8 feel lighter and more alive than they have in years. But inevitably, the curtain falls. The first crack usually appears around resources, time, or money. The 8 works late, again. The 3 spends too much on something frivolous, again. Because the 8 equates money with survival, and the 3 equates money with energy, a fundamental misunderstanding occurs. The 8 sees the bank account dropping and feels physical pain, a survival threat. The 3 sees the 8 obsessing over the bank account and feels emotional abandonment. "You love your money more than me," the 3 accuses. "I'm making this money for you," the 8 retorts. This is the tragic irony of their loop. The 8 is working to build a kingdom for the 3 to play in, but by the time the castle is built, the 3 has left because they were lonely. The 8 values the container of life, the house, the car, the status. The 3 values the content of life, the laughter, the conversation, the memories. Without realizing it, they are building 2 different houses on the same plot of land. The 8 builds a fortress. The 3 builds a circus tent. When the storm comes, the fortress stands but is cold. The tent is warm but collapses. They need each other, but they are too proud and too wounded to admit their methods are incomplete. The breakdown accelerates in the realm of communication. The Life Path 3 is a verbal processor. They need to talk to think. They exaggerate for effect. They use metaphors. They are emotional storytellers. If they are upset, they might say, "You never listen to me," not meaning it literally, but emotionally. The Life Path 8, however, is a literalist and a pragmatist. They speak in bullet points and bottom lines. They detest drama and view emotional outbursts as a loss of discipline. When the 3 tries to express a feeling, the 8 tries to fix the problem. The 3 says, "I feel lonely." The 8 says, "I'll hire a cleaner so you have more time." The 8 thinks they solved it. The 3 feels unheard. Because the 3 feels unheard, they amplify the drama to get a reaction. The 8, seeing the drama rise, shuts down and withdraws behind a wall of icy silence. This is the 8's deadliest weapon, the freeze out. To a 3 who thrives on connection, the silence is torture. Therefore, the cycle deepens. The 3 pokes the bear to get a roar, because even a roar is better than silence. The 8 sees the 3 as hysterical and irrational. They stop respecting the 3's intellect. The 3 stops respecting the 8's heart. They are speaking 2 different languages. One is speaking Excel spreadsheet. The other is speaking poetry. Both are valid, but neither can translate the other without a key. If this dynamic is not checked, it descends into the shadow dance. This is the toxic version of the 8 and 3 compatibility. In the shadow, the 8 becomes the tyrant. They control the finances strictly, they criticize the 3's appearance or career, and they use their power to belittle. They become a bully. In response, the 3 enters their shadow, the deceiver. The 3 starts lying. They hide purchases. They flirt with others to get the validation they aren't getting at home. They become superficial and scattered, refusing to take responsibility for anything. Because the 8 demands respect and the 3 demands adoration, and neither is giving it, they attack the other's vulnerability.
The 8 attacks the 3's competence. You'd be nothing without me. The 3 attacks the 8's lovability. You're a cold-hearted machine that no one actually likes. This phase is critical. Most couples break up here. The pain is too great. The 8 feels used, the 3 feels trapped. But, and here is the pivot, this rock bottom is necessary. It is the fire that burns away the ego. The 8 has to realize that control is an illusion. The 3 has to realize that freedom without responsibility is just chaos. If they can survive the shadow dance, they can enter the alchemical transformation. But they have to be willing to die to their old selves. The 8 must kill the tyrant. The 3 must kill the child.
The turning point comes when the 8 realizes a profound truth. An empire without art is a graveyard. And the 3 realizes art without a gallery is invisible. The pivot happens when the 8 stops trying to parent the 3 and starts sponsoring them. And the 3 stops fighting the structure and starts decorating it. Imagine the 8 comes home, not to criticize the mess, but to ask, what did you create today? Imagine the 3 looks at the 8's late hours, not as abandonment, but as an act of service, and says, thank you for building our life. Because gratitude replaces judgment, the energy shifts. The 8 softens. When an 8 feels respected, they become incredibly generous. They want to give the world to the 3. When a 3 feels supported rather than controlled, they become incredibly loyal and inspiring. They bring their magic into the 8's life. The 3 teaches the 8 how to play, how to relax, how to spend the money they work so hard for. The 8 teaches the 3 how to execute, how to finish what they start, how to turn their talent into wealth. Therefore, the relationship moves from a parent-child dynamic to a king-queen or king-king-queen-queen dynamic. They realize they are not enemies. They are 2 halves of a whole dominion. The 8 provides the canvas. The 3 provides the paint. When the 8 and 3 integrate, they form the power couple archetype. This is the stage of the alchemical marriage. In business and life, they become unstoppable. The 8 handles the logistics, the finances, the operations, and the strategy. The 3 handles the marketing, the public relations, the social atmosphere, and the creative vision. The 8 protects the 3 from the harshness of the world, acting as a shield. The 3 connects the 8 to the divine spark, acting as an antenna. Together, they cover all bases. The 8 ensures they never go broke. The 3 ensures they never become boring. We see this often in celebrity couples or successful business partnerships, the operator and the face. The 8 learns that their power is useless if it doesn't serve life. The 3 learns that their life is useless if it doesn't have form. In this stage, the sex and intimacy deepen profoundly. The 8 brings an intensity and earthiness that grounds the 3. The 3 brings a playfulness and imagination that liberates the 8. They balance the root chakra, survival, 8, with the throat chakra, expression, 3. The energy flows from the ground up and the sky down, meeting in the heart. Why did the universe pair you together? It was not an accident. The 8 and 3 pairing is a specific karmic classroom. The Life Path 8 is here to learn that power is not just about control, it is about empowerment. The 8 needs the 3 to teach them vulnerability. If the 8 never met the 3, they would die rich but alone, their heart encased in stone. The 3 is the hammer that breaks the 8's shell. Conversely, the Life Path 3 is here to learn that creativity requires discipline to manifest. The 3 needs the 8 to teach them endurance. If the 3 never met the 8, they would float away like a balloon, wasted potential, full of ideas that never became real. The 8 is the string that keeps the balloon from disappearing. Because of this, the pain you feel in this relationship is actually growing pains. Every fight is an opportunity to integrate the other's quality.
When the 8 wants to control, they must learn to trust. When the 3 wants to run, they must learn to stay. This is the spiritual contract. You are not just lovers, you are each other's guru. The 8 is the guru of form, the 3 is the guru of spirit. Therefore, to walk away before the lesson is learned is to repeat the grade. You will simply meet another 8 or another 3 in a different body until you master this dynamic.
So, is the life path 8 and 3 compatibility doomed or divine? It is entirely up to the level of consciousness of the people involved. If you stay in the ego, it is a Greek tragedy. But if you rise to the soul, it is a heroic epic. The potential for this couple is to leave a legacy that is both wealthy and beautiful. Think of the Medici family, bankers who funded the Renaissance. That is the 8-3 energy. Money, funding art. Structure, supporting spirit. If you are in this relationship, hold the line. The 8 must loosen the grip. The 3 must tighten the focus. Validate each other's strengths rather than attacking the weaknesses. If you can bridge the gap, you become the masters of both worlds, the material and the ethereal. You become the empire builder and the muse. Now, this story was general to the archetypes of 8 and 3, but your specific numerology chart contains other numbers, your expression, your soul urge, your personal year, that change this dynamic entirely. To understand the full picture of your compatibility, you need a complete map. I've created a tool to help you find that path. Go to the link in the description to discover your personal numerology profile. Don't let the friction destroy you. Let it refine you.